right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling something I bet a lot of you have thought about. How important is learning English in our world today?
Right.
We've got this document just called The Importance of Learning English.
Okay.
And we're going to break it down, see what it means for all of us.
Sounds good.
You know, for you listening.
Yeah,
So.
it's a big question. Lots to unpack there.
It is.
You hear English called the global language, but is that really true? And what's it like for people who don't speak it, from birth?
It's not just like for travel or business anymore, right? This document saying English is like everywhere. Entertainment, the internet.
Totally. And the numbers back that up.
Yeah.
Like it's the third most spoken language in the world.
Wow.
Official in 53 countries, but then a second language in, get this, 118 countries.
That's wild.
When it's that widespread, it's got to affect how we all interact, globally.
It's almost the default, online especially.
Yeah.
There's this stat that blew my mind. 52% of the most visited websites are in English. That's over half the internet.
It is, and that's amazing for English speakers, but makes you think about who's left out, right? What about folks who don't speak English?
Right.
Are they missing out in this digital age? Have you ever felt stuck online because of the language?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like you hit a wall?
You hit a wall. It's like articles, online groups, even memes.
Yeah.
If you don't get the English, you're out of the loop.
Frustrating, right?
It is. It is.
Imagine you're into something, like really passionate. But all the research, the forums, online classes, they're all English only.
Yeah.
That's got to feel limiting.
And it's not just online. The document talks about how even when you travel to places where English isn't the main thing, it's still super useful.
Makes sense.
Like they have this story about using English to figure out airport signs, train schedules.
Oh, yeah.
That basic stuff can make or break your trip.
It's true.
It is.
That kind of gets at English being what they call lingua franca.
Oh, lingua franca. Haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
Break that down for us.
Sure. So throughout history, different languages have kind of been the go-to.
The go-to? Yeah.
Depending on what's going on, power-wise, economics. Like Latin, was it for ages in Europe for all the smarty-pants stuff and religion?
Right.
But now, well, it's complicated, right? British Empire, then America's rise, plus the internet and, Hollywood.
It all adds up.
Yeah, so English is kind of the top dog now for global chat and business.
So this document's saying it's not just handy for travel or small talk.
Nope.
It's like essential for being part of modern life on and offline.
They make a strong case for it.
They do.
And it goes even further. They say learning English can actually make you smarter.
Hold on, wait. Smarter. That seems like a bit of a leap, doesn't it?
It's bold for sure, but there's research.
Okay.
They mention a study from Switzerland back in 2012.
What did they find?
Well, it said that when you learn any new language, not just English, it makes certain parts of your brain stronger.
Which parts? How does that equal smarter?
They looked at the parts that handle memory, focus, and this thing called cognitive flexibility.
Cognitive flexibility.
Yeah, like how easily you can switch between tasks, adapt to new stuff.
Okay.
And learning a language, it made the gray matter in those areas denser.
So it's like a workout for your brain.
Exactly.
Building up those brain muscles.
The brain's amazing. It can change so much.
Yeah.
And language pushes it in new ways, makes new connections, boosts those functions.
Like learning a new sport pushes your body and mind in ways you haven't done before.
Exactly. It's like the more you push your brain, the better it gets, just like with exercise.
So it's not just like a practical thing.
Right.
It's actually good for your brain overall.
That's what they're saying.
Pretty convincing. But
yeah.
I got to say,
yeah,
I'm still kind of iffy on the whole smarter thing.
I get it.
Isn't intelligence way more complicated than just knowing languages?
You're right. It's not that simple. But this study and others, they show that learning a language, it does affect the stuff we link to. Intelligence, memory, problem solving, thinking critically.
Okay, so it's not like you learn some Spanish and boom, you're a genius.
No, not quite.
More like you're giving your brain a tune-up.
Exactly, sharpening those skills.
Gotcha.
And it's not just those specific things either.
Really?
Yeah, research shows bilingual folks are often better at multitasking. They focus better, and some even say they're more creative.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's like language unlocks something in your brain.
That's wild.
In this document, it goes on to say these brain benefits, they actually matter in real life.
How so?
Like doing your job better, making good choices, even aging well.
So it's not just for fun, it's like for your future self.
They make that argument.
I like that.
Yeah.
But Can we switch gears a bit? This document, it had this whole section on proverbs.
Proverbs.
Yeah, like sayings about language learning from all these different cultures.
Oh, interesting.
I found them so insightful.
Proverbs are cool, little bits of wisdom passed down over time.
Exactly.
And they tell you a lot about what a culture values.
Right. There was this Chinese one, I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
To learn a language is to have one more window from which to look at the world.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
It's like language isn't just talking, it's how we see the world.
Right.
Learning another one, it's like stepping outside your own viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing things fresh, like getting a new set of eyes.
Makes you think what we're missing out on just because of language.
Yeah.
But proverbs aside, this document also gets practical.
Okay.
They say, most of us think we need to be way more fluent than we really do.
That's a good point.
It depends what you want, right?
Yeah.
Just chat, watch movies, or like work in the language.
Each one needs a different level.
And they say, until you're actually learning another language, it's hard to know how good you need to be.
That's true.
You might think it's got to be perfect, but even basic stuff can go a long way. They also say you don't have to like erase your own language completely.
Interesting.
Like having an accent or making grammar mistakes.
Yeah.
It's fine as long as you get your point across.
That's reassuring for people.
Right. So many get hung up on sounding native.
It's more about connecting, expressing yourself.
Exactly.
And they're big on this, finding a reason to care.
That's
Something that gets you using the language, even when it's tough.
if you're not into the language or the culture,
Yeah.
it's going to be harder to stick with it.
For sure.
The document even talks about the author's own story, learning English.
Oh, right.
It shows how finding something you enjoy in that language can change everything.
Do you remember what got them hooked?
Fan fiction. They found all this English fan fiction online.
Really?
And just loving those stories, they kind of absorb the language naturally.
That's amazing. Learning driven by passion.
It is.
Not forcing yourself to study, but just wanting to dive in.
Yeah. And the document says that enjoyment, that's key for the long haul. If it's not fun, you're more likely to quit.
They're all about finding the joy in it.
Yeah.
It's about the challenge, the little wins along the way. And remembering learning itself can be rewarding, not just being fluent.
So it's not just about, like, conquering the language.
No.
It's about loving to learn,
Yeah.
exploring new ways to think and express yourself.
And that circles back to that proverb.
The window to the world.
Yeah, it's about broadening your horizons, your mind, your experience of different cultures.
But before we get too deep, let's bring it back to you, the listener.
Right, you listening.
What about you? Could be anything. Talking to
Yeah.
family who speak another language.
Right.
Or watching movies without subtitles.
Or working abroad, maybe.
Yeah.
Or just pushing yourself, trying something new.
I think we can all agree learning a language, it's a good thing.
Absolutely, and it never really ends, does it?
It doesn't.
Always more to learn, more to explore, new ways to, connect with the world.
So as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
let's go over what we talked about. We started with, like, how big English is, how it's everywhere now, especially online.
Right, that global reach.
And the lingua franca thing.
Yeah.
How English is kind of the default for talking across cultures.
Oh, we also got into the brain stuff.
Yeah, the science.
How learning a language actually makes your brain stronger.
Like a workout.
Memory, focus, all that.
And finding that reason to learn. What keeps you going?
Right, your own motivation.
We even heard about the author learning English through fan fiction.
That was a great example.
It shows it doesn't have to be boring, right?
It shouldn't be.
Learning can be fun and exciting.
Exactly.
So, to everyone out there learning a language,
Yeah, keep going.
embrace the hard parts, celebrate the wins.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
stay curious about the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Maybe someday you'll be the ones sharing your wisdom, inspiring others
Passing it on.
to open their own windows to the world.
That's what it's all about.